Hi, I'm Kenneth WAJDA. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my inspirational photography talks. So today I want to talk about a very simple concept that I think makes for a great photograph. And I've often used the term a strong foreground, a strong background, and nothing else. And I use that when I'm looking for how I'm going to tell stories. So with this current health situation we're in now, last week the Air Force Thunderbirds did a flyover across Colorado, and there was all this news that they were going to be flying over my town around 1 o'clock. Hey Ken, are you going to go out and take pictures? And I'm like, the first thing I think about when I hear about Air Force jets flying across town is, what can I bring to a foreground? How can I tell the story with more than just a picture of planes in the air? And so I ended up scouting out a few places, and I ended up getting to the golf course and being able to shoot over some houses where people were gathered. And it was just my luck that there was a break in the trees over in that scene where the people were standing, and the Thunderbirds flew right through it. So it was perfect. And I'll put a link to the pictures below, you can see it. And the whole thing was, if they didn't fly in that space, if they didn't line up with something in the foreground, I needed people to be a part of that story. The point of that flyover was to give a little bit of credit to the health workers, and I needed a photo that could show people were appreciative of them and came out to see them. And like I said, a lot of people were photographing in Colorado. I saw a lot of photographs of Thunderbirds with mountains and, lots of long telephoto shots. But I ended up shooting it with an 80 to 200, and the 200 for getting the shot of the planes, and the 80 for shooting the wider shot so I could get the people. And I think that's the most important thing I can think of when I was at a supermarket a few years ago, and I think I can find that photo. I'll put that in a link too. That photo was made because I was leaving a Safeway, and there was the most glorious sky, and people were holding their phones up and taking pictures of the sunset. But my thought was, there's no foreground. There's nothing to put in the foreground to work with that sky. And I knew of this old barn in this old historic farm that was only around the corner, and I quick raced over to there, and I shot out my car window, and I shot the photo of the barn with that sky, and now I had a foreground, the barn, with that sky, and it was glorious. But to me, you need both. A lot of times when people shoot nature, they just shoot a picture of the mountain. And I think, well, can you put some foreground foliage or flowers or a lake in the foreground so that we know where we are in relation to those mountains? Or they just shoot the lake, but they don't shoot the background, and then it's all foreground. And I think you need both to tell strong stories. There are times when you just want accent photos and everything doesn't have to be the same, so you can get away with shooting all foreground or all background if it's a picture story. But when it comes time to shooting a single photograph or storytelling photographs, I think you need that foreground to build the context for what am I looking at and who is a part of that and how is it working together. For my photograph of the Thunderbirds, the people who are watching them are as important to me as the Thunderbirds. And that's the storytelling aspect that I think really makes a difference in how you approach photographs. When you're looking at possibilities, even when you're photographing somebody in your backyard, they're the foreground, what's the background? How can you work those two together? Maybe the background tells you a little bit about them. Maybe the background is plain because it doesn't tell you anything and you want it to go away. Even a plain background that's out of focus is a background choice. And you get to make that choice to tell your best story. All right, that's today's photography talk. Take a look at the links below. I'll put some pictures there for you, and I welcome your comments as always. Hey, I'm a little brighter. Finally got past that other group of videos. Boy, I hope this one looks okay. It looks perfect on the monitor. We'll see. All right, if you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support, hit the Patreon. I thank all my Patreon supporters. You guys make all of this possible, especially right now when things are a little bit slow in the photography world. Thank you for your support, and I'll be back next week. We'll talk photography. As always, here's the good light.